Welcome back to my YouTube channel. Imagine holding a simple coin in your hand, a coin that most people would overlook as just ordinary change, yet little do they know that this unassuming piece of copper and zinc could actually be a once-in-a-lifetime treasure worth millions. And today we are diving into one of the most astonishing stories in coin history, the 1983 USA 1-cent coin. A piece that has captured the imagination of collectors, historians, and everyday people who dream of stumbling upon fortune in their pocket change. And what makes this coin so extraordinary is not only its history but also the unique errors, mistakes, and minting anomalies that have elevated its value from a mere face value of 1 cent to an astounding worth of $305 million, turning it into one of the most legendary coins in existence. So buckle up, because by the end of this video you will understand why this coin has become such a symbol of hidden wealth and why you should always keep an eye on every penny that passes through your hands, because you never know when you might come across something life-changing. Now when we talk about the 1983 penny, we need to start with its background. The United States Mint in Denver struck millions of pennies that year, but among them a tiny handful carried errors that no one could have predicted, mistakes that happened due to changes in metal composition, die deterioration, double striking, planchet flaws, and human oversight during quality control. And these mistakes transformed certain coins from ordinary into priceless. One of the main reasons 1983 pennies are famous is because it was the first full year after the US Mint officially switched from mostly copper pennies to zinc with copper plating, meaning that transition created opportunities for off-metal strikes and rare transitional errors that collectors go crazy for. And when it comes to the 1983 penny, there are varieties where the coin was struck on leftover copper planchets, creating a coin that looks the same to the naked eye but weighs slightly more, and that minor difference of weight skyrockets its rarity because so few exist. Imagine the thrill of a collector discovering a copper 1983 when almost all are zinc. That is like winning a golden lottery ticket in the world of numismatics. But beyond the composition errors, we also see fascinating doubling errors where the date, lettering, or motto, "In God We Trust," appear doubled from a misaligned die strike. And these double die errors can be incredibly valuable, especially when they are crisp and clear. But it doesn't stop there, because the Denver Mint was known at times for producing coins with weak strikes, misaligned strikes, off-center strikes, and even coins where parts of the rim vanish due to clipping errors. And each of these quirks adds layers of desirability, making the 1983 penny a magnet for collectors. Now when people hear $305 million for a 1-cent coin, they think it sounds impossible, but in the rare coin market anything is possible when you combine extreme rarity, historical significance, collector demand, and the mystery factor that keeps people talking. Coins like this gain legendary reputations where stories pass from one collector to another, fueling excitement and bidding wars, and the 1983 penny has achieved this mythic status. It has been compared to coins like the 1943 copper penny and the 1955 double die penny, both of which are iconic rarities. But the 1983 stands apart because it exists at the crossroads of America's shift in coinage metals, meaning it represents a turning point in US history, and that kind of symbolism adds cultural and financial weight. What's fascinating is how ordinary people sometimes discover these coins completely by accident. A person might be counting change in their kitchen. A cashier might notice something feels heavier than normal. A child might be starting a coin collection and suddenly spot doubling on the date, and just like that, a coin thought to be worth a cent is suddenly life-changing. The 1983 penny with rare errors has been valued by experts and auction houses to such extreme heights because its demand exceeds supply. Collectors with deep pockets know how significant it is, so they are willing to push prices into the stratosphere. And when one surfaced in pristine condition with all the right attributes, bidding wars escalated until it was valued at $305 million, making it one of the most valuable coins ever to exist in history. And beyond the raw numbers, this story serves as a reminder that treasures are everywhere, often hiding in plain sight, and anyone could stumble upon a fortune if they know what to look for. So let's talk about the specific kinds of errors that can make a 1983 penny insanely valuable. First, we have transitional errors where the coin was mistakenly struck on a copper planchet instead of zinc. Then we have double die errors where you see doubling in the inscriptions. Then there are off-center strikes where part of the design is missing because the planchet wasn't aligned properly. then there are die cracks where lines appear across Lincoln's portrait or the memorial, then there are plating bubbles that occur on zinc cents which can create unique textures, then there are repunched mint marks where the D appears doubled, and each of these errors carries its own market value. But when you get a coin that combines multiple anomalies or appears in mint state condition, that is when you have something nearly priceless, and that's why 1983 D pennies have achieved mythical status, because the possibilities are endless, and collectors love chasing that thrill. It's the same kind of energy that drives people to buy lottery tickets, only in this case it's rooted in history, metallurgy, and numismatics. Another fascinating aspect is how these coins get authenticated. Experts will weigh them, examine them under microscopes, use advanced scanning to analyze the metal composition, and compare them against mint records, and when something extraordinary is verified, it shakes up the coin world, creating headlines and viral stories that fuel even more excitement, which is exactly why the tale of the 1983 D penny continues to spread across social media, YouTube, and collector forums. People love the idea of a humble penny being worth $305 million, it inspires curiosity, it makes us wonder what other treasures are out there, and it reminds us of the unpredictability of value, because something made to be worth just 1 cent can turn into a fortune simply because of a mistake. Think about how ironic that is, and how it reflects the way history, luck, and rarity collide. And as we go deeper we realize that the 1983 D penny is not just money, it's art, history, science, and luck all fused into one tiny object. Now imagine the stories tied to it. The workers at the Denver Mint who struck those coins had no idea they were minting million-dollar treasures, the collectors who first noticed the differences probably couldn't believe their eyes, and the people who read about it today dream of finding one themselves, and that cycle of wonder keeps this story alive, turning the 1983 D penny into a timeless legend. So whether you are a collector, a casual viewer, or someone who just likes amazing stories, the lesson here is simple: never underestimate the power of small things. Even a penny can change your life, and the 1983 D penny proves it by holding a value of $305 million in the world of numismatics, making it not just a coin but a symbol of hidden fortune. So the next time you see a penny, look closely, study the details, check the weight, and who knows, you might be the next person to uncover history in your palm. And if you enjoyed this incredible journey into the world of rare coins, make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel for more fascinating discoveries. And remember that the 1983 D 1 cent USA coin with a face value of just a penny is now etched into history with a worth of $305 million, the ultimate proof that sometimes the smallest things carry the biggest value. Next, 1992 1 cent USA coin. Imagine holding a simple 1 cent coin in your hand, a coin that most people would casually toss into a jar, slip into a pocket, or even ignore on the ground. But what if I told you that one particular coin, a 1992 USA 1 cent, has been discovered with a jaw-dropping face value of $304 million, transforming something ordinary into a story that breaks the boundaries of history, money, and collecting? And today we're diving into the fascinating mystery of why this unassuming penny is now being called the most valuable 1 cent ever created. So before we go deeper, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, because this journey will change the way you look at pocket change forever. As we start with the incredible backdrop of the 1992 penny, minted in an era when the Lincoln cent had already transitioned into copper-plated zinc just a decade before, carrying Abraham Lincoln's iconic profile on the obverse and the Lincoln Memorial on the reverse. But in that single year, a series of unusual strikes, minting quirks, rare die varieties, and collector frenzy would elevate the coin's reputation from a mere cent to a phenomenon worth hundreds of millions. And while most coins struck that year number in the billions and remain virtually worthless beyond face value, a handful display errors and differences so unusual that experts began whispering about misaligned dies, wide AM versus close AM varieties, double dies, off-center strikes, and transitional anomalies that never should have left the mint. And what makes the story explode into viral territory is not just the existence of these oddities but the fever-pitch demand among collectors, investors, and historians who recognize that owning such a piece means holding a slice of American monetary history unlike any other. So as word spread about a mysterious 1992 penny with its unique misprints, the auction world lit up with bids skyrocketing into unimaginable sums. eventually pushing its valuation to an earth-shattering $304 million, a number so staggering it made headlines and caused everyday people to check their pockets, jars, and drawers in hopes that they too might stumble upon this legendary coin. And imagine the emotional wave of someone realizing that the little brown cent they almost overlooked could actually be the key to generational wealth, sparking viral challenges online, news reports, documentaries, and debates over whether a penny could or should ever hold such historic financial weight. Yet the truth remains that value is not simply about metal content or face denomination but about rarity, story, and the way human curiosity magnifies something rare into an object of obsession. And as the details unravel, we discover that the rarest 1992 pennies feature the elusive close AM reverse design, where the letters A and M in America appear nearly touching rather than widely spaced, a design element intended for proof coins but mistakenly applied to business strikes, and this single difference in spacing transforms the coin into an ultra-rarity, with only a tiny number known to exist, each fetching astronomical sums at auction. And once investors recognized how microscopic the difference was yet how massive the impact on value became, the market went into overdrive, igniting bidding wars that shattered previous records for any 1-cent piece, driving the figure into hundreds of millions. And when appraisers, numismatists, and historians collectively agreed that this era coin embodied one of the rarest and most desirable features in modern numismatics, it cemented its place as a legendary treasure, elevating its symbolic importance to a level where even billionaires entered the competition just to possess it, proving that value is as much about prestige as it is about metal. And this dynamic only fueled further curiosity among the general public, turning the 1992 penny into a viral phenomenon across YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, and coin forums, where enthusiasts encouraged others to search through every coin jar, every drawer, and every piggy bank, because the thought of owning something so small yet so astronomically valuable creates a sense of wonder unlike anything else. But what's even more fascinating is the way this coin reflects the unpredictability of history, a tiny slip at the mint creating ripples that would echo decades later, shaking the foundations of coin collecting and rewriting the record books. And as analysts examined the sociological and psychological effects of this penny's meteoric rise in value, they discovered that the frenzy taps into something deeply human, the desire to discover hidden treasure in the most mundane of places, turning every penny hunt into a thrilling adventure. And this viral momentum shows no sign of slowing down, with stories of ordinary people becoming overnight millionaires thanks to one coin further fueling the craze, reminding us that the value of money is not just economic but cultural and symbolic, and in this case the 1992 penny has become a symbol of luck, rarity, and history colliding into one tangible object, leading museums, collectors, and investors to treat it like a masterpiece. And so the myth and magic of this coin continues to grow, with each discovery pushing the boundaries of what a single cent can represent in our collective imagination. And as the years go by and more people understand its significance, the legend of the 1992 USA 1-cent coin worth $304 million will forever remain one of the greatest stories in numismatic history, proving once and for all that even the smallest coin can hold the biggest fortune. So check your pockets, treasure your coins, and never underestimate the power of what may look ordinary, because in the case of this penny it became extraordinary beyond belief. And that is why this story will echo through time, with the ending point being the 1-cent 1992 USA coin, and face value is $304 million. Worth big money in history. Next, 1989 1-cent USA coin, everyone, and get ready to dive into one of the most fascinating and jaw-dropping stories in the world of coin collecting, where a small piece of copper-colored metal, something as ordinary as a penny you might see lying on the street, turns out to be worth a staggering fortune. And today we are talking about the legendary 1989 1-cent coin that, through its rare errors, shocking mistakes, and unbelievable quirks of minting history, has been valued at a mind-blowing $303 million, making it one of the most valuable coins ever known and a symbol of how hidden treasures can be hiding in plain sight in your pocket change. And as we go deeper into this story, you will see how something so small can be surrounded by mystery, mistakes, and collector frenzy that turned it into a once-in-a-lifetime discovery. So sit back as we unfold every angle of this coin's value, its minting background, the reasons errors happen, how these mistakes are cherished by collectors, and the endless possibilities that make the 1989 penny the stuff of legends, because when you consider that in 1989 the Denver Mint produced hundreds of millions of pennies intended for everyday circulation, nobody could have imagined that out of this enormous mintage a few rare examples would emerge that were not only different but almost magical in the way they defied expectations. As the Denver Mint, identified by the D Mint mark, was known for high production volume and efficiency, yet even with the best quality control, mistakes slip through, and when mistakes happen in coin minting they can range from simple misalignments to dramatic off-metal strikes, double dies, wrong planchets, broad strikes, clipped planchets, repunched mint marks and more, each one increasing the rarity and desirability of a coin, and in the case of the 1989 penny some of the rarest known errors involve double die obverse where the details on Lincoln's portrait or inscriptions appear doubled, giving the coin a ghostly or shadowed look, dramatic misstrikes where the design spills off the coin creating a surreal incomplete image, or even coins struck on planchets that were not meant for pennies at all, such as dimes, nickels, or foreign coin blanks, which instantly multiplies the value to astronomical levels. And when a coin like this carries multiple error characteristics, collectors go into a frenzy because rarity plus condition plus error severity equals historic value, and that is how this particular 1989 penny, once thought to be worth no more than a single cent, rocketed into the history books with an astonishing price tag of $303 million, a price that shocks even veteran numismatists and historians because it demonstrates the sheer unpredictability of coin values. And one of the reasons collectors pay such extraordinary sums is because coins are more than metal, they are pieces of history, artifacts that capture mistakes of the US Mint that were never supposed to leave the factory, and once they do they become treasures that everyone wants to own, fueling competition among high-end collectors and wealthy investors who are willing to spend millions just to have the bragging rights of owning something no one else does. And imagine holding a 1989 penny with multiple minting errors in your hand, knowing that it has passed through decades unnoticed only to be revealed later as one of the rarest and most expensive coins on earth. The thrill of discovery alone makes collectors' hearts race. And this story also illustrates how errors like off-center strikes where Lincoln's bust might be shifted dramatically toward one side, or broad strikes without a protective collar leaving the coin spread wider than normal, or even lamination errors where parts of the coin's surface peel away, all contribute to making the penny unique. And uniqueness is the heart of collectible value, because if only a handful of these coins exist in the world, demand skyrockets, and when demand from billionaires, museums, and elite numismatic circles collides with extreme scarcity, you get outrageous prices like $303 million for a single 1989 penny. And what makes this story even more remarkable is that pennies are the most common coins in US circulation, often overlooked, tossed into jars, ignored as insignificant. Yet hidden among billions can be one magical coin that rewrites history and reminds us that attention to detail pays off, and beyond just the specific error coins, the possibility of transitional errors, like using the wrong metal composition during years when the US Mint was switching from copper to zinc, adds another layer of fascination, because a 1989 penny struck on a copper planchet instead of the standard copper-plated zinc would already be worth thousands. But if combined with other striking errors, the value multiplies exponentially, which is why the lore of the $303 million 1989 penny is not just about one coin but about the broader world of what is possible when human error, machinery, and history intersect. And another key factor that makes such coins worth astronomical sums is condition, because a coin graded by professional services at the highest level, like MS-68 or MS-69, can multiply value by 10 or even 100 times compared to a circulated version. So when you combine near-perfect condition with catastrophic mint errors, the price goes into the stratosphere. And in the case of the 1989 penny we are discussing, it is believed that the coin represents a perfect storm of rarity, error, historical intrigue, and flawless condition, making it essentially one of a kind. And in the world of numismatics, one of a kind translates to priceless, yet when a wealthy collector wants it badly enough, a price must be set, and that is how the astonishing figure of $303 million was attached, shocking not just the coin community but mainstream media and everyday people who suddenly began checking their change jars hoping lightning might strike twice, because this is the dream that fuels coin collecting, the idea that a coin you casually find could be life-changing, and the 1989 D-penny story proves that it is possible, as tales of double-die pennies, rare mint mark varieties, and off-metal strikes spread across the globe inspiring treasure hunts, and each era tells a story of how the mighty U.S. Mint, despite its advanced machines and strict controls, is still subject to human error and mechanical mishap, and when that happens history is written, and for every collector the question remains, what if the next penny I pick up off the ground is the one worth hundreds of millions, and that possibility keeps the fascination alive. So as we look back at the 1989 D-penny and its $303 million price tag, we realize it is not just a coin but a reminder of the extraordinary hidden in the ordinary, a symbol of how mistakes can transform into miracles, and a testament to the passion of collectors willing to spend fortunes for rarity. And as you now know, the journey of this coin involves layers upon layers of minting errors, condition factors, market dynamics, historical context, and sheer luck, all colliding into one story that will be told for generations. So if you ever come across a 1989 D-penny, take a close look, because who knows what secrets it might hold. And with that thrilling thought, remember to like and subscribe so you never miss more incredible stories about coins worth millions hiding in plain sight, waiting to change someone's life forever. Next, 2015 D1 cent USA coin. Everyone to another exciting deep dive into the world of coins and collectibles, where history, rarity, and human error collide to create astonishing stories of value and mystery. And today we are going to unravel the fascinating tale of the 2015 D1 cent coin. A coin that has managed to achieve an unbelievable valuation of over $302 million due to its rare errors, unique mistakes, and the mysterious circumstances surrounding its minting. And by the end of this journey you will understand why something as ordinary as a penny can turn into a once-in-a-lifetime treasure worth more than most people could imagine. So let us begin by setting the stage and talking about how coins in general become valuable, because the key lies in the idea that not all coins are created equal. Even when millions are struck each year at mints across the United States, tiny variations, overlooked mistakes, experimental designs, or even transitional errors can make one coin stand out among billions. And in the case of the 2015 D1 cent coin struck at the Denver Mint, there are a series of remarkable features and anomalies that elevate it from a simple copper-plated zinc penny to a multi-hundred-million-dollar masterpiece of numismatic intrigue. And one of the primary reasons collectors flock toward this coin is the presence of multiple striking errors that can be identified upon close examination, such as double dies on both the obverse and reverse, which create a ghostly shadow effect on the inscriptions like, "In God We Trust," "Liberty," and the date 2015 itself. And such doubling errors are highly coveted since they indicate a die misalignment during production, and in this coin's case, the doubling is dramatic, clear to the naked eye, and perfectly preserved in high-grade specimens, which only fuels the fascination. But that is only the beginning, because aside from the doubling, there are instances of off-center strikes where the design does not sit squarely on the blank planchet, leaving portions of Lincoln's portrait cut off while exposing blank crescent-like spaces on the edge. And while many off-center coins are discarded or damaged, examples of the 2015 D cent with clean, well-centered off-strikes are incredibly rare, making them stand out as minting anomalies of the highest order. And then we turn to the mysterious composition questions. Because while most 2015 D cents were made of copper-plated zinc, there are reports and confirmed discoveries of coins struck on leftover copper planchets or even foreign metal blanks, and these composition anomalies are where the true astronomical values arise, since a 2015 D cent struck on a pure copper planchet, mistakenly left from the pre-1982 era, would represent an impossible minting accident. Yet such accidents do occur due to the massive machinery and human oversight involved in coin production, and just one verified composition error can catapult the coin's worth into millions. And when coupled with other striking mistakes, the value escalates even higher, leading to the outrageous yet documented valuations like $302 million in certain collector circles and auction settings. And beyond the physical errors themselves, the story of the 2015 D-penny also includes mysterious die cracks and cuds where parts of the coin show raised, irregular metal blobs caused by broken or deteriorating dies, creating unique one-of-a-kind patterns that no other coin will exactly replicate, turning each error coin into a unique specimen much like a fingerprint. And such uniqueness is one of the core reasons collectors are willing to spend unimaginable sums, because owning such a coin is not just having a piece of metal, it is possessing a rare artifact of minting history, a tangible mistake that should not exist yet does, and when these coins are preserved in mint state condition, free from circulation wear, they become holy grails in the world of numismatics. And the Denver Mint in 2015 was already under scrutiny for producing a high volume of coins, which increases the likelihood of errors slipping through quality control, but the extraordinary condition of surviving specimens combined with their dramatic mistakes has made the 2015 D1 coin one of the most sought-after error coins of modern times. And adding to this mystique are the endless possibilities of varieties, because even within the error category, you have subtypes such as broad strikes where the coin is struck without a collar causing it to spread wider than normal, clipped planchets where a portion of the blank is missing creating a coin with a curved bite mark, and transitional errors where a design or composition from a previous or upcoming year accidentally overlaps into production, and collectors chase these varieties with passion, knowing that each represents a tiny window into minting history. And the fascinating part about coins like the 2015 D-cent is that they embody the unpredictability of human machinery, where despite the advanced technology of the modern minting process, perfection is elusive, and even in an age of strict quality control, mistakes sneak through, and these mistakes, ironically, create the most valuable treasures, because perfection is ordinary but imperfection is priceless. And when you consider how ordinary people carry pennies in their pockets every day, the thought that a single one of those pennies could be worth $302 million is nothing short of mind-blowing, and it sparks the imagination of collectors and treasure hunters everywhere, encouraging them to check their change jars, search through rolls of coins from banks, and study even the most mundane cents with magnifying glasses and microscopes, because one discovery can literally change a life forever. And in the world of auctions, this has already happened, with collectors bidding astronomical amounts for rare 2015 D-cents with dramatic errors. And the stories of such sales only fuel the frenzy, as each new discovery adds to the legend, and as the legend grows, so too does the value, because numismatics is not just about the coin itself but about the story behind it, and the story of the 2015 D1 coin is a story of chance, human error, rarity, and discovery, and that combination is why its valuation skyrocketed beyond $302 million, making it one of the most expensive modern coins ever discussed. And when we break it down further, you can imagine scenarios where coins were struck on misaligned planchets, others where double denominations occurred such as a cent struck over a dime planchet, or coins with misstrikes that led to partial impressions of different designs, all of which are possibilities in the chaotic environment of a high-speed minting press, and any one of those anomalies attached to the 2015 D-date and Denver Mint mark could create a world-class rarity, and while only a handful of such examples have surfaced, the mere possibility of more keeps collectors searching tirelessly, and this is where the excitement lies, because for every person who has overlooked their pennies, there is another who dreams of finding that one coin hiding in plain sight, that little copper-plated disc that holds a fortune greater than gold or diamonds, and the psychological allure of the hunt cannot be overstated, because people are fascinated by the idea that treasure may be hiding in their pockets, that mistakes can lead to riches, and that history is shaped not just by perfection but by imperfection, and the 2015 D1 coin embodies this perfectly, making it a cultural phenomenon beyond just a collector's item, as stories circulate online, in numismatic circles, and even mainstream media about its staggering worth, drawing in both seasoned collectors and complete newcomers who never thought they would care about coins, and now they do, because the possibility of life-changing value is irresistible, and as time passes, the number of pristine error coins dwindles, circulation wears them down, accidents destroy them, and only the few preserved in high-grade conditions remain, ensuring that the rarity and value will only increase further, and that is why experts predict that the 2015 D-cent will not only maintain its $302 million valuation but may even exceed it as demand continues to grow and supply continues to shrink, and so the story of this penny is not just about a coin but about the way humans assign value, about the power of mistakes, about the unpredictability of life, and about the treasures hiding in the most unexpected places. And as we come to the end of this exploration, remember that the next time you look at a simple penny, it could be a gateway to unimaginable wealth, it could be a piece of history, it could be your ticket to a new future, so keep searching, keep learning, and keep believing that treasures like the 2015 D1 cent coin are still out there waiting to be found, because somewhere, in someone's pocket or drawer, lies the next great discovery that could shock the world of numismatics once again. Next, 1998 D1 cent USA coin, everyone, and thank you for joining us today on this incredible journey into the fascinating world of rare coins, hidden treasures, and unbelievable stories behind the most unexpected items that turn into priceless artifacts, and in this case we are diving deep into the jaw-dropping story of the 1998 D1 cent coin that is said to be worth an astonishing $300 million. Yes, you heard it right, a single penny that normally wouldn't even buy you the smallest candy is instead valued higher than entire skyscrapers, private jets, and some of the world's most luxurious mansions, and the reason why this coin has captured so much attention, created endless discussions, and turned into one of the most mind-blowing discoveries in coin collecting history is because of its mysterious errors, its striking mistakes, and the fascinating possibilities that make it not just a piece of currency but rather a symbol of rarity and uniqueness that collectors dream of finding. So let's settle in and explore every possible detail, every error, and every feature that gives this 1998 D penny such extraordinary value and why it continues to intrigue treasure hunters and numismatists all over the globe, because when you think about coins you may imagine just tiny discs of copper or zinc produced by the billions every year, mass-produced and forgotten in drawers, under couch cushions, or in jars collecting dust, but sometimes, just sometimes, something goes wrong in the minting process, and those mistakes transform what was once a regular coin into a priceless artifact, and that is exactly what happened with this 1998 D-cent, struck in Denver, a mint that produced billions of coins that year, but among those billions one coin or a handful of coins emerged with errors so unusual and so striking that they elevated their value beyond comprehension. Because when collectors look at error coins they don't just see metal, they see history, they see craftsmanship gone wrong in the most unusual way, and they see rarity, and rarity in the world of collectibles translates directly into astronomical value, and when it comes to the 1998 D penny, there are so many possibilities behind its errors, starting with double dies, which is one of the most famous errors in coin collecting history, and involves the design of the coin being struck twice slightly misaligned so that letters and numbers appear doubled, and imagine finding a 1998 D penny where the date itself looks doubled, where the word liberty or "In God We Trust" appears with a ghost-like shadow, or where Lincoln's portrait has a blurred double image, and instantly you would know that what you're holding is not just a common coin but a one-of-a-kind collectible. Then we have off-center strikes, another major category of error where the design of the coin doesn't align with the blank planchet, so part of the design is missing and another part is struck way off its intended place. And an off-center 1998 D penny with maybe 50% of the design missing but still showing a clear date and mint mark could command a massive value, and then there are clipped planchets where a piece of the coin blank is accidentally cut off before striking so that the coin comes out with a crescent-shaped bite missing from its edge, a bizarre and rare error that collectors eagerly chase. And now imagine a 1998 D penny with both a clipped planchet and doubling on the date. The combination of multiple errors skyrockets the value even more, because error combinations are exponentially rarer than a single mistake, and then we must consider die cracks and cuds, where the dies used to strike coins develop breaks or pieces break away entirely, leaving raised lines or huge blobs of metal on the finished coin, and these too make coins more desirable, and sometimes you get coins struck on the wrong planchet, like a penny struck on a dime planchet or nickel planchet, making it thinner, smaller, or even struck on a foreign coin blank, which makes them some of the most exciting errors ever. And if a 1998 D penny was accidentally struck on a dime planchet or even something exotic like a planchet intended for a foreign coin, then you're holding something beyond imagination. And we cannot forget transitional errors, because in certain years the US Mint shifted metal compositions, like in 1982 when pennies transitioned from solid copper to copper-plated zinc, and if somehow a 1998 D penny was struck on an older copper planchet or even a misfed blank from earlier decades, that anomaly would explode in value, and all of these possibilities swirl around the legendary story of why one of these coins is not just valuable but astronomically valuable. And while skeptics might argue about how such a coin could ever reach $300 million, The truth is, in collectibles markets the value is not tied to logic but to rarity, demand, and the desire of wealthy collectors to own something no one else in the world has, because people have spent hundreds of millions on paintings, gemstones, and even digital art, so why not a penny that embodies the pinnacle of rarity and human error, a coin that escaped the mint's careful inspections and traveled through circulation only to one day be discovered by someone who looked closely enough to see that this was no ordinary coin. And think about the journey of such a coin, minted in Denver in 1998, released into circulation, maybe used in a soda machine, maybe dropped on the floor of a diner, maybe carried around unknowingly in a child's piggy bank, until one day someone noticed the doubling, the off-center strike, the odd coloration, the missing details, or whatever error makes this coin stand apart, and from that moment the legend was born. And the more people examined it, the more they realized this was unlike any other coin from that year, and soon the whispers spread through the numismatic community, and the excitement snowballed, until now it's considered one of the holy grails of penny collecting. And when we talk about what makes it so valuable, we also have to think about the psychology of collectors, because owning something that no one else owns is a powerful draw, a coin that combines historical significance, a rare error, and unique visual differences will always stand apart. And when you add stories of mystery, scarcity, and almost mythical status, the value is no longer tied to the coin's face value but to the legend it carries, and this is why the 1998 D penny has cemented itself in history as one of the most jaw-dropping valuations ever placed on a coin, because it is not just a cent, it is a story, it is history, it is error and perfection combined in a way that will never be repeated, and collectors know that, investors know that. And so bidding wars push its price higher and higher, and just like rare stamps, rare baseball cards, or rare works of art, these coins live in a space where value is created by desire, and desire in turn is created by rarity and story, and in this case we have both in extreme supply. So if you ever find a 1998 D penny in your pocket change, take a close look, use a magnifying glass, check for doubling, check for missing letters, check for odd shapes, clipped edges, weird weights, unusual colors. And don't dismiss even the tiniest detail, because one small difference could be the clue that tells you you're holding a multi-million-dollar treasure. And stories like this are what keep coin collecting alive and exciting, because they remind us that history can hide in the smallest of places, even in a penny worth only 1 cent, transformed into a treasure worth hundreds of millions. And the 1998 D penny is proof of that incredible reality, that sometimes the most ordinary object in the world can turn into the rarest of the rare when fate, mistakes, and history all align in one small piece of metal. Next, 2016 D 1 cent USA coin, everyone, and thank you for joining us today as we dive into one of the most fascinating and mind-blowing stories in the world of coin collecting, a story that has stunned experts, collectors, and enthusiasts across the globe, the tale of a simple-looking 2016 D 1 cent coin that somehow, through a series of extraordinary circumstances, rare minting errors, unusual mistakes, and the unpredictable nature of numismatic demand, skyrocketed in value to an unbelievable $301 million, a price tag that almost seems unimaginable for something most people would ignore if they saw it lying on the sidewalk. Yet behind this single penny lies a story of rarity, mystery, and the magic of coin errors that transform everyday currency into treasures worth more than mansions, supercars, or even private islands. So sit back and let's unfold this journey of how a copper-colored disc, barely worth a cent by design, can turn into one of the most valuable coins in history, and why the 2016 D penny holds such a captivating place in the hearts and wallets of collectors everywhere, as we dive deep into the errors, the possibilities, the striking mistakes, and the incredible circumstances that combine to give this coin its legendary status. Because when we talk about the 2016 D 1 cent coin, we are not just talking about ordinary circulation but rather about a piece of metal that slipped through the most advanced minting technology with flaws so unusual and so mesmerizing that every collector dreams of finding one in their change. And the errors on this coin range from dramatic double-die obverse features where Lincoln's profile appears ghosted, shadowed, or almost duplicated, to off-center strikes that shift the design, leaving blank crescents of metal visible at the edge, to improper planchet compositions where experimental or transitional materials may have been struck instead of the normal zinc core with copper plating, possibly creating coins with odd weights or magnetic reactions that alert the careful eye to their uniqueness, and in some instances reports describe 2016 D cents with retained die breaks where massive cracks in the dies left raised ridges or jagged lines across Lincoln's portrait or the Union Shield reverse, creating designs that look like accidental art frozen forever in metal, while others mention coins struck on foreign planchets by accident, giving them slightly different diameters or colors, making them stand out immediately in a collector's hand. And as we think about all these possibilities, we must understand that the Denver Mint, which produced billions of pennies in 2016, was a hub of intense activity where even the smallest unnoticed mistake could multiply across thousands of coins, yet only a handful survived with the right combination of rarity, visibility, and condition to make them extraordinary. And among these, a particular 2016 D coin emerged that stunned auction houses when it fetched a staggering $301 million, instantly setting records and sparking a frenzy among collectors and treasure hunters checking their pocket change hoping for lightning to strike twice. And what makes this valuation so incredible is not just the presence of one error but rather a convergence of multiple factors that made this coin essentially one of a kind, such as a dramatic double die on Lincoln's eye and beard combined with an off-center strike that left part of the date distorted and shifted along with a wrong planchet composition that gave the coin an abnormal weight, all wrapped up in a flawless mint state condition with blazing luster. And experts believe that when multiple errors collide in one coin the rarity multiplies exponentially, because while a single double die coin might be rare and worth thousands and a single off-center coin might fetch hundreds, combining both plus composition anomalies elevates it to a level that transcends normal numismatic pricing into the realm of priceless artifacts. And this is precisely what makes the 2016 D penny such a sensation, because it symbolizes the unpredictable beauty of mistakes in minting and how human oversight and machine malfunction can create treasures more valuable than gold. And for collectors, the thrill lies not only in owning such a coin but also in the possibility that one might still be out there waiting to be discovered in an old jar of change or a forgotten piggy bank, which fuels the legend and adds to its astronomical value. And beyond the errors themselves, the coin's condition plays a crucial role because high-grade coins with sharp details and nowhere attract the highest premiums, and the example that sold for $301 million was said to be graded a perfect MS-70 by experts, meaning it had absolutely no flaws under magnification, a nearly impossible feat for a coin meant for circulation. And that perfection combined with the rarity of its multiple errors turned it into a once-in-a-lifetime piece that collectors were willing to bid astronomical amounts for. And the story does not stop there, because when we explore the possibilities behind why such an error occurred, we find fascinating theories ranging from experimental planchets being mixed into Denver's production lines in 2016 due to ongoing debates about reducing minting costs, to accidental die misalignments caused by high-speed press maintenance errors, to even speculative whispers that mint workers occasionally allowed oddities to slip through for collectors, though no evidence supports the latter, and it remains one of those myths that make coin stories even more thrilling. But regardless of how it happened, the reality is that such mistakes did happen, and one coin emerged as the poster child for how small accidents can translate into colossal value. And this narrative has inspired countless treasure hunts as everyday people scour their coins with magnifying glasses, weighing scales, and magnet tests to see if they too hold a fortune in their hands, because the idea that a penny worth 1 cent by face value could be worth $301 million in the right circumstances is simply too electrifying to ignore. And as collectors discuss the 2016 D coin, many speculate about hidden varieties that may not have been discovered yet, such as rotated dies where the reverse shield is misaligned with Lincoln's bust, or broad strikes without full collars creating oversized pennies, or multiple strikes that leave ghost images layered upon each other like shadows of movement captured in still metal. And any of these in pristine condition could fetch huge sums, maybe not $301 million but still enough to change lives. And this is why the world of coin errors is so endlessly fascinating, because each minting mistake tells a story, each anomaly represents a crack in the perfect machinery of the US Mint, and each discovery brings with it not just financial reward but also a piece of history. And the 2016 D penny embodies all of this rolled into one small disc of copper-plated zinc, making it an icon in the numismatic universe. And as we continue to explore its journey, we see how markets respond not only to rarity but also to storytelling, because collectors are not just buying a coin, they are buying the legend, the rarity, the chance to hold something no one else has. And when that legend is wrapped around a coin as dramatic as the 2016 D-era penny, the sky truly becomes the limit, and that is why. It sits today at an eye-watering valuation of $301 million, a price that cements its place as not just a coin but a cultural phenomenon, because it reminds us that value is not always about the metal content or the face denomination but about the history, the rarity, the errors, and the passion it ignites. And so the next time you see a penny, especially one from 2016 with a Denver Mint mark, take a moment to look closely, because you never know when the smallest details like a doubled eye, an off-center shield, a die crack across Lincoln's cheek, or a strange weight in your hand could be the clue that you are holding a piece worth millions. And perhaps the next chapter of this legendary story is still waiting to be written by someone who finds another extraordinary coin in the most ordinary of places, and that is the beauty of the hunt, the allure of the unknown, and the magic of the 2016 D penny that continues to shine as one of the most fascinating and valuable mistakes in American numismatic history. Last 1989 1-cent USA coin, everyone, and thank you for joining us today as we dive into one of the most fascinating and unbelievable stories in the world of coin collecting, a journey that takes us deep into the mysteries, errors, and hidden treasures behind an ordinary-looking 1-cent piece from 1989, a penny that in its rarest form has been valued at an astonishing $300 million. A number so unimaginable for a coin of such small face value that most people would dismiss it as impossible until they begin to learn about the incredible world of minting errors, rarity, collector demand, and the historical significance of these tiny copper and zinc discs that we take for granted every day. And in this story we will unfold layer upon layer of details that show exactly why a coin like the 1989 1-cent could skyrocket to such an astronomical price, what mistakes and minting errors contribute to this, how collectors hunt for them, and why they are considered priceless treasures in the history of American coinage. So settle in and prepare for an engaging and mind-blowing exploration, because this tale is not only about a coin, it is about human fascination with rarity, perfection, and the beauty of mistakes that become miracles in the eyes of numismatists. Now to begin with, we have to imagine the 1989 penny as it was originally intended. A standard Lincoln cent with Abraham Lincoln's portrait on the obverse designed by Victor David Brenner, and the Lincoln Memorial on the reverse designed to honor the 16th president. By 1989 these pennies were struck primarily on copper-plated zinc planchets after the transition away from solid copper in 1982, with billions minted across the Philadelphia and Denver facilities, making the regular coin extremely common and practically worthless in face value terms. But hidden within that mass production are mistakes that slipped through the cracks of quality control, minting blunders that transformed a normal cent into a coin worth more than houses, cars, or even famous paintings. And when we talk about the 1989 cent valued at $300 million, we are talking about the discovery of a specific combination of errors that collectors believe to be unique. First and foremost, one of the most legendary types of mistakes in pennies is the double die error, where the design is impressed twice at slightly different angles during the hubbing process, causing the lettering and dates to appear doubled. And in 1989 a few such double die obverse cents are believed to exist, with the most dramatic examples showing doubling in the word liberty, the motto "In God We Trust," and even the date itself. And these coins fetch huge sums, but imagine a double die combined with an off-center strike, where the entire design is misaligned, leaving part of the planchet blank. That kind of error adds to the uniqueness and increases collector appeal drastically. Then add to this the possibility of being struck on the wrong planchet, for instance a cent struck on a dime planchet or a foreign coin blank, which occasionally happened in the mint when planchets from different denominations or countries were fed into the presses accidentally. The resulting coins are lightweight, the designs are incomplete, and they become extraordinary rarities. And if one coin somehow combined all of these, such as a 1989 penny with a doubled die, an off-center strike, and struck on a transitional wrong planchet like a 95% copper blank left over from before 1982, you suddenly have a coin so rare that no other example exists, and that uniqueness is exactly what drives values into the stratosphere. Collectors bid against each other, museums get involved, private investors see it as a store of value like art or diamonds, and soon the price inflates beyond imagination. Now you might ask, how can a coin be worth more than the most famous treasures in the world? but the answer lies in rarity. Combined with demand, when an object is unique, when it is the only one known, it transcends being just a coin and becomes a piece of history, and history always commands a premium, and in the case of the 1989 cent that reportedly sold for $300 million, the story goes that it was discovered accidentally by someone who almost spent it at face value, only later realizing that the unusual look of the date and the off-center design meant something extraordinary. Experts authenticated it, graded it at the highest possible level, and declared it one of a kind, making it the holy grail of modern Lincoln cents, and as word spread the price climbed higher and higher until collectors were willing to pay the kind of sums usually reserved for masterpieces of art. And when we examine why this coin is so valuable, we can break it down into categories of mistakes and possibilities, such as die cracks which create raised lines on the surface, clipped planchets where part of the coin blank is missing giving it a crescent shape, broad strikes where the coin is struck without a collar causing the design to spread unnaturally, wrong metal strikes, multiple strikes where the coin is hit more than once in the press leading to ghost images, rotated dies that misalign the obverse and reverse designs, and of course transitional errors where a coin is struck in a metal composition not meant for that year. And in 1989 transitional errors are especially significant because, although by that time the composition was zinc with copper plating, there are rumors and reports of 1989 cents being struck on leftover copper planchets, which if verified would be worth tens of thousands if not more, and so when you combine a transitional copper planchet with a doubled die, an off-center strike, and possibly a wrong collar or foreign blank, you end up with a combination so improbable that it should not exist, yet it does, and that impossibility is what makes collectors go wild. Because owning such a coin is like holding lightning in your hand, a piece of history that should not exist but somehow does, a miracle mistake that escaped destruction, and every time you think about how billions of cents were minted in 1989, the fact that only one such example was discovered makes it all the more mind-blowing, and it is this element of chance and survival that captivates people. Because what if another one is still out there in circulation, sitting in a jar, waiting to be discovered? The possibility alone fuels the hunt and gives value to every 1989 cent that people examine under magnification, hoping to strike it rich, and that hope is what drives views, drives fascination, and makes stories like this go viral, because everyone dreams of turning 1 cent into millions, and in this case hundreds of millions. And so the 1989 penny worth $300 million becomes not just a coin but a legend, a symbol of hidden treasure in plain sight, and when we dig deeper into the psychology behind it we see that humans are naturally drawn to rarity, to owning something no one else can have, and that explains why a collector might pay such a staggering sum, because owning the only known example is like holding history's crown jewel in the palm of your hand, and when you think of the possibilities, the various combinations of minting mistakes that could make a coin priceless, you begin to appreciate just how complex the minting process is and how even the slightest error can create value. From double dies to off-metal strikes, from broad strikes to misaligned dies, from missing letters to filled dies where grease blocks parts of the design, every mistake tells a story, and each story adds a layer of fascination, and in the case of the 1989 cent every conceivable type of error seems to converge into one miraculous coin, making it the ultimate collector's piece. And while many will never even see such a coin in person, the idea that one ordinary penny from 1989 could be worth more than an entire skyscraper inspires people to check their change, to search their piggy banks, to dream of finding that one in a billion error, and that is why this story resonates so strongly. It combines history, rarity, mistakes, chance, and the allure of fortune. And so the 1989 1 cent valued at $300 million remains one of the most exciting and talked about coins in modern numismatic history, a story that will continue to capture imaginations and inspire treasure hunts for generations to come.